Hello everybody and welcome back to Cask and Points. Today we're trying a whiskey with a complicated backstory and very mixed reviews. This is E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye. So E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye is a 126 proof offering from Buffalo Trace. It is the first batch of this product and it may or may not be the last. It's a little bit unclear whether or not they plan to make more of these, but what we know is that they've released one so far and people have had very mixed feelings about it. Some have said that this is actually a really solid release, that people really quite like it, that maybe it's not super worth the still $450 that it commands on secondary markets, but it's unique, it's interesting, it's cool. Others have said that this is the worst whiskey of the year, that this is incredibly disappointing, that it's even worse than the E.H. Taylor Straight Rye. So today I want to find out if there's really all that much truth to either of those takes. Now E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye, the story started in 2022 when Coming Whiskey, which is a very popular Instagram page which posts a lot of the new TTB labeling and really is good at discovering the new releases before they're announced, had announced that the Buffalo Trace Distillery had put in for a new label for the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye. Now, 2022, the fall came by, all of 2023 went by, most of 2024 went by, and then finally we heard about E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye. Now, this has been released on the markets for about 4 months now, but it's been 2 years in the making of people talking about this whiskey, asking when it was going to be released, saying it may never even release, saying it will finally release this month and this month and this month. Finally, we got it towards the end of 2024. So let's get right into this here. Let's find out if this is the best whiskey of the year, the worst whiskey of the year, somewhere in between. Let's get right into it. On the nose here, there's quite a bit of stone fruit. I'm getting like apricot, nectarine on this. That's really nice. It's really nice and jammy too, like a nice marmalade, like a peach marmalade on this. And there's a little bit of white pepper in there, definitely a little bit of an ethanol kick on this as well. I mean, this has been sitting in the glass for about 20-25 minutes, so any ethanol still there is just ethanol on the pour. Good amount of caramel, a little bit of vanilla in there, not really smelling like a rye. I mean, there's a little bit of nutmeg and cinnamon on this. So to my understanding, this whiskey may actually be a mash bill of its own. Some people speculate that E.H. Taylor Straight Rye is kind of its own mash bill, a fifth mash bill that some speculate is 65% rye, 35% malted barley, give or take. Obviously, we don't know these numbers. Buffalo Trace doesn't give us these numbers, and we don't know if this is that or if this is just actually a rye that falls in line with a lot of the other ryes that they produce, like Thomas Handy, like Sazerac 18. But it would be interesting if this is its own mash bill, because honestly this smells pretty bourbon friendly, and the mash bill that people speculate this could be doesn't have any corn in it. So let's try this. Interesting. Getting a lot of that peach marmalade up front, then getting into pretty strong white pepper on this. Okay, that's interesting. There's definitely caramel, there's definitely vanilla on this as well. It's pretty complex. It's actually not a bad pour at all. I was expecting this to be pretty bad. Honestly, when I've heard the reviews being mixed, typically when reviews are mixed, that means that they're just bad, and some people just don't want to really say that they're bad. And I know SLB Drinks, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels to watch, they said that this was one of their most disappointing whiskeys of the year. I don't know, I don't think it's all that bad, at least on that first sip here. There's definitely quite a few flavors going on here. There's like that peach, that nectarine, marmalade jamminess on it. And then you get a little bit of that white pepper. Then you get some of that vanilla and the caramel. I mean, there's quite a bit going on here. It doesn't really drink like a rye though. So let's take a second sip here and see if that continues. Yeah, okay, so I think it's kind of mellowing out a little bit. Didn't give me as much punch on that second sip at all, but definitely have that forefront of the peach, the marmalade, the nectarine, those kinds of flavor notes, the stone fruit flavor notes, and then it gets into the white pepper. And I think if this continues to get stronger in that white pepper department and the peach isn't as strong, I could see why this may be a little bit disappointing to people. Now, I don't hate white pepper on my whiskeys. I was actually originally a Scotch drinker before I drank bourbon, and one of my favorite whiskeys, Talisker 10, has a very strong like black pepper note throughout the mid-palate, late palate finish. And so I've gotten very used to those kinds of notes, and so they aren't really that off-putting to me. This is definitely more of a white pepper than it is a black pepper, but I don't mind them that much, but I definitely see why a lot of people may not like this. It's just jammy. It is definitely getting a little bit more simple as time goes on here. I'm not really picking up that much nuance here. Stone fruit, jammy, sweet, like a candied stone fruit on it, and then white pepper. Let's take a third sip here. So the white pepper is getting stronger. Spice is definitely getting stronger as well. You're definitely getting some of that cinnamon, some of that nutmeg, primarily nutmeg actually. Definitely getting, like, the white pepper is just getting stronger and stronger. Like, if there was a percentage of the pour from the front, mid, late palate finish, like in the beginning it was like 25% of that was going to be your white pepper. Now it's growing, it was 50%. It's kind of getting closer to 75% here. I'm a little bit worried that this is just drinking like white pepper, which is not pleasant. While I don't mind pepper that much on my whiskeys, I don't want it as the primary factor on my whiskeys, and I could see why some people may not like this that much. So I will say, for MSRP, which to my understanding, obviously the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Bourbon, MSRP is $80. I believe the rye was around the same at $80. At that price, this is well worth it. I think this is a very solid pour. I think it's definitely got a little bit more disrespect than it probably deserves. I think at the secondary market of $450, maybe a little bit lower, closer to $400 nowadays, not worth it. Not anywhere close to worth it. You're buying it for the novelty. And obviously that's why you're buying a lot of Buffalo Trace products. And there's always going to be that natural secondary fee for being a Buffalo Trace product. Yeah, okay, I don't think this is that bad though. Let's take a final sip here and let's give it a rating. Okay, so over time, the white pepper just got stronger. And I could see why that's a little bit unpleasant for people. So I was initially around low 8s for this pour. I thought it was actually very, very solid. It's just lost me more and more over time. I'm actually kind of glad that I'm ending this on 1 ounce, because I will say if there was a second ounce in this glass, the rating may be even lower. It just got worse and worse. The white pepper just became more and more comfortable in that pour. The peach, the marmalade, those sweet, jammy flavors just kind of retreated more and more over time. I'm going to rate this a 7.6. I think it's a solid pour of whiskey. I think for $80, it's well worth it. I think if this bottle was 120 bucks, I'd pay for that. I really wouldn't pay much more than that. I think that's really where I would limit out on this pour. So obviously, a cool win at MSRP. For the novelty of it, definitely cool. Maybe even pay $150 just for the novelty of having an E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye. But the juice in there, maybe 120 bucks, maybe 100 bucks. It's solid. I think it gets a little bit too disrespected, but it's not that good. And with that, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.